Hello and welcome to Community Corner here on the Serenity Resource Connector. Thank you so much for tuning in, whether you're here with us live or you're watching the replay. It's always a pleasure to have you here. I am Winsome, and it's always a pleasure to moderate these discussions, these forums where we learn more about so many different things that's going on in our community. We had last month a look at food and water security. So if you missed that episode, you want to go back and check that out. But for this episode, we're going to be zoning in on fire safety 101, the things we need to know, and how we go about preventing the fire and preparing for the eventualities. So when you leave here, you would have a better understanding how to protect your home and your families in the event of a fire. And who best to share with us than the expert himself, in the person of Ryan Davis, District Officer there at the Jamaica Fire Brigade Clarendon Division. Welcome, Officer Davis. Turn on your camera and join me on screen.
Okay, right. Good evening. Good evening, Ms. Witter, and good evening to your viewers.
All right, awesome.
Thanks for your
Fire
invitation.
Prevention Officer. Oh Lord, such a huge mandate, because we have so many things going on, especially with the heat that is on, and we're getting a little wind now and then that adds fuel to the fire.
It does. All these things contribute to the intensity and severity of the spread of a fire.
All right. So we are going to be learning some more now about all we need to know about understanding fire risk, because there's so many risks involved. So let's start there. Getting to know what are the common causes of fire in the home.
Well, statistics have shown that the common causes of fires in the home is carelessness, and oftentimes people don't practice the necessary safety precautions to prevent fires. Maybe they don't know, or maybe it is that they think, it's okay, it's safe to just do anything. But we have seen, based on our research, that carelessness is a major cause of fire. For example, many people, before when they approach a stove, for example, they light the match first, and then they turn the stove on. That's not a good practice. It's best for you to strike the match and then you light the stove. So simple practices like these can be the difference between the protection of your home or the destruction of it.
Wow. And that might seem very simple, but very profound. I never stop to think about it. I usually
there you go.
light and then turn on.
Right.
Because I usually check to make sure the stove is actually off before you strike that match, or if you're using a lighter. But that's important to note, because we usually do things without really thinking about it. It becomes
there you
habit.
go. There you go.
All right.
Because the problem with that is that sometimes you may just have one stick inside that box, and if you turn the stove on first and it breaks, chances are you may forget that the stove is on, go in search of another box of matches, and then you know what can happen as a result of that.
Wow, indeed. Wow, great to know. All right, so in light of that, what are the statistics looking like for the Clarendon Division as it relates to fires, particularly in the homes?
All right, so I have looked at fire cause statistics over the last 3 years, 2021, 2022, and 2023. And we are seeing where house fire calls have increased. The statistics show that from January to September, and that's the year we're comparing with, so 2021, or 2021, 2022, and 2023, January to September. House fire calls were 48 in 2021. In 2022, there were 54 house fire calls. And in 2023, there were 68 house fire calls. So we see there an increase of 11 in 2022% and an increase of 20% over that 2-year period. And that's not a good sign at all. And you know, I'm very happy, Ms. Victor, that we are doing this because it helps us to understand or to see the seriousness of fire and, of course, apply the prevention measures so that we can protect our homes. Because not only is fire statistics, but it's also a cost. So far, up to September, the cost of damage by fires is over $157 million.
Wow.
So that is a lot of money that, you know, could have been used differently for more productive use.
Wow. And that figure, what does it account for? Is it in relation to the damages to structure or overall cost?
Damages to structure, yes, mostly damages to structure, and when compared to the risk that is there versus what was saved.
Okay. Which is not even the real cost, because then you have for those who ended up in the hospital, then
that's another thing
on
as well,
the medical
right?
side and all the other entities that had to get involved, plus replacing
Right, that is
those
true.
for what could be replaced, that is, because then there were some loss of lives. Did we have
Yes.
loss of lives for the Clarendon division over that period?
Well, I did not look at that aspect, but based on memory so far, I'm not remembering where anybody died in any of those fires. Perhaps last year, you know, we had figures of this, but so far I don't recall where anybody died.
Thank God for that. And
but I cannot always check that information.
Right. And that's one of the reasons why we want to make sure that we're in the know. So, right. So, in terms of the other importance of being aware and understanding fire risks, do you have any other areas that you want to highlight in terms of the importance of being aware and understanding the real risks where fire is concerned?
Well, going back to the statistics, we have observed that the fire calls come around a lot in the early parts of the year, January, February, and March. I suppose that this time is very hot, it's dry, it's windy. As Jamaicans, we often like to, after we perhaps clean up our yards, we heap the leaves up and then we light those leaves. And unknowing to many persons, these fires carry sparks to very long distances, and fires can start as a result of that. Right. So when I opened the program, or when the program was open, and I mentioned, simple things that we need to do to protect ourselves, these are some of the things. So it is recommended for you to burn rubbish in a drum if you have to burn rubbish. We'd rather you find other uses for your, disposables or your garbage. But if you have to burn it, ensure that you burn it in a closed container or a confined space. Things like having a fire extinguisher at home. They protect your property and their first aid firefighting equipment. So once there's a fire, you want to get that fire out quickly as possible, because usually fires will start small unless it's an explosion.
Yeah.
And so you want to come in there.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that, because typically when we think about fire extinguishers, we're thinking about fire extinguishers in places of business, those
Yes.
commercial places, the church, and those other areas, but not necessarily at home. And in
That's
terms
true.
of fire drills and all of those, how can
That's true.
we,
I'm glad you mentioned that.
yeah, what do you recommend in terms of practice in the home to ensure that everyone in the family is aware of the different measures to take in the event of a fire?
Right. So we basically want to change that narrative. People generally feel or want to put things in place for security, but security without fire safety is incomplete. Therefore, as important as security is, you should also recognize that fire safety is equally important. So therefore, it is important that you have a fire extinguisher and a smoke detector in your home. What the smoke detector does, it gives an alarm. So if you are sleeping and there's a fire, that alarm will wake you up. Fire will not wake you up. Fire will cause you to go into a deeper sleep. If you inhale carbon monoxide, it will put you into a deeper sleep. So we recommend that you have a smoke detector, not necessarily in the kitchen, but in the areas such as living rooms, bedrooms, and so forth. It provides an alarm, and you are able to wake up and respond to that fire call. Now, the question about drills: the best thing to do in any fire is to get out safely. I know we want to protect what we have worked very hard for, but unless you have the adequate protective gear, we recommend that you don't try to extinguish a fire before you call the fire brigade. So if you have the requisite protective gear and adequate water source, call the fire brigade first. Then you try to extinguish a fire, use a fire extinguisher or a garden hose. But in order to get out quickly, you want to have an alarm, and that should be manual, so it can be a whistle or any form of improvised device for your home. And members of your family should know what the sound is and be acquainted with the sound, and know that whenever that sound is made, they should get up and move to the nearest exit. And once they go through those exit or that exit, they should stay at the assembly point until the response team arrives to get the fire out. And of course, drills should be practiced at least twice annually. So if it's good for the workplace, I think it's even as good for your home.
Right. Because I usually practice this with when you have in schools, when you have large crowd
Right, there you
and
go. Yes.
all of that. But
But I'm happy
then
for that though, because what happens when we do that, the children take the information home, and
yes,
we are expecting that that influence pushes people to do the same at home.
indeed. Do you have any experience of fire in the home, that any story to share with us? It's it is we're still celebrating we just celebrated Heroes Weekend, Heroes Day earlier this week. Any
Yes.
heroic stories, children or
Well,
otherwise, how they dealt with fire, home fire?
children. Well, based on the information that we present to our children, basic schools and so forth, they go home and they tell the parents the numbers to call to report fire incidents, and you know they tell the adults what to do and how to escape if the room is filled with smoke and so forth, so they know that they should use a window or a door that are nearest once to them, things like that they tell. But in terms of a story per se, um there's none coming to mind right now.
All right. But when you go, I can just imagine when you go into
Yeah,
those, especially the basic school, the early childhood
yeah, the
institutions, the
children.
little ones, right?
Yes. Mhm.
When you go there,
Right.
like on
They are very fascinated with the fire truck.
okay, and when you turn on that light, they like that aspect of it. All right. All right. So so in terms of, you discuss a little of this in terms of creating a fire safe environment at home, because we'll think about ensuring the content and sometimes ensure the premises, the house, but not the content. And we, even though we say we ensure, we don't do much in terms of putting things in place to protect them. So in terms of that aspect of it, are you able to speak to that in terms of the importance of, say, safeguarding those little areas, discussing maybe with the insurance advisor what exactly is covered? Because I know a lot of people would have been out of pocket because they don't have certain things like that in place.
That's true. That's a good idea to ensure the contents as well as your property. But if somebody has suffered, a fire loss, there are ways that they can get help. The fire brigade provides a letter that they can use. These letters to go back, for example, to courts or any one of those companies that they have taken out a hire purchase contract for furniture or whatever the case may be, where they can get reprieve or something like that against the furniture or appliance that they have taken out on hire purchase. They can also get assistance from government agencies or even their member of parliament. And insurance companies also ask for these letters. So if the fire is as a result of arson or something of a criminal nature, the insurance companies will also request these documents.
All right. Those are some good information to have on hand, because I've received questions as to where exactly they should go, or they might be going to report or trying to get help, but they did not actually get that letter from the fire authority. So they need to come and get that letter first to take to those different entities.
And let me just say that the letters are free of charge, and you can get as much or as many as many letters as you require, and you can take them to wherever you desire. Once you have suffered a loss and you have reported the items that were destroyed in the fire, and of course this information you have to give to the officer who responds or responded to the fire call. So you want to make yourself available so that you can tell them all that you have lost. And of course, this information will go into the fire report.
Awesome. So, I've shared all of this in terms of some of the things to have in place at home, knowing what it is to look for, so we're not recklessly putting ourselves in danger or families in danger by striking that match and after you've turned on the stove and creating that kind of fire scenario. But what's the importance? What would you say is importance of being prepared for fire emergencies? And what does preparation really look like? So in the event of a fire.
It's very important that you're preparing. I just want to give us an idea of how fires behave. For any fire to take place, there must be three specific elements come together in the right proportion. These elements are oxygen, which we always have around us, heat, which of course we live in a tropical country and we complain about the heat all the time, and a substance. Substance is really anything that can burn. We wear substances, we drive in substances, we live in substances, we write on substances. There's always a substance around us. So what this information is saying to us is that as long as there's heat present, as long as there's oxygen, and I said earlier that we always have these things around us, and as long as there's a substance, once they come together in the right proportion, a fire can start. You don't actually have to apply a matches or somebody being malicious. Because the conditions are right, a fire will start. So therefore, when we say have a smoke detector, have your fire extinguisher, burn rubbish, safely. For example, don't overload your circuits or the plugs. As a matter of fact, we recommend that you discontinue the use of the electrical cords and use a power strip instead. Um, don't run these cables behind furniture, especially if you move them constantly, or on the carpets. If sometimes you may walk on top of these plugs, and constant moving over them can cause weakness and a breakage, right? Ensure that an electrician corrects the label your place. We're coming on to the Christmas time, where we need to be mindful of how we use, for example, the pepper lights and all these lights and so forth. So we need to understand that overloading the circuits can cause fires, and not having the right electrician or so forth doing the charge, checking your home for safety can cause harm to your home and your family.
Quite a bit there. One of the areas that you touched on in terms of especially the electronic devices, because we often charge those phones, put those phones to charge.
Yes.
Sometimes on the bed, and we go to sleep.
Yes, we do.
And sometimes these cables are not 100% because they get broken because of the frequent usage. Guide our young people and our not so young people as to some of the safety precautions where those are concerned, the charging the devices.
Well, we definitely recommend that you monitor your devices when you're charging them. Overcharging of any appliances can be a risk of a fire. So ensure that you charge your phone to the right level so that it doesn't overload or overcharge and cause a fire. The bed is not the ideal place to have your phone. There has been instances I know in the United States that there were instances where people charge their phones while it's on the bed and a fire starts, because some phones they overheat just by charging, not necessarily being overcharged, and then the 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 material, that the sheets and so forth, once if it reaches its ignition temperature, a fire can start as a result of that, right? So we are recommending that you monitor your devices and don't overcharge. As a matter of fact, once you finish charging your device, plug them out. I've heard that these modern phones, or some modern phones, they charge up to a certain percentage, and then they stop charging. So some phones are being built with safety feature for that precaution.
Yes, that was great to know, because sometimes we leave those phones charging and don't remember that they are still connected. And before they put these safety features in, we would have lost. Let's say the battery would have been damaged if you overcharge
Right.
them. So
Yes.
thankfully, someone made that decision to make sure that they help us to protect the devices. All
Ourselves.
right.
Right.
Yes. All right. So
And let me just mention before you move on, Ms. Victor,
sure.
that you know we recommend, and this is the other reason why I recommend the power strips. If you know what I'm talking about, those 6 plug strips.
Yes.
What they have in them are fuses. The extension cords, they don't have fuse. So if there's a power surge or a power outage or some sudden return of power, it can cause a damage of your equipment, or sparks where a fire can result.
Okay. Yes. And with the heat and we running these fans, sometimes the fans
Yes.
have these shorts. Is that the correct term?
Short circuit, shorts for short.
Right. So
But yes, that's a true thing as well. So some people, the time is very hot. We've mentioned that before. But if you leave the fan on for very long, um, they can also overheat and cause a fire. There was an instance some time ago in Portmore where a fire started as a result of a fan left on almost to the next day. That's what happened, and the fire started there. So we need to be careful of our electrical appliances. They're known to
oh,
cause fire.
okay. Wow. Important to note. All right. So we are having this discussion in Fire Prevention Month, and we have
Yes.
Fire Prevention Week coming up,
Fire safety, fire and life safety awareness week.
and Life
That's
Safety
the
Awareness Week.
term.
Okay. Fire and Life Safety Awareness. All right. And it's not just our lives. I hear you, your little pup. I can just imagine how beautiful.
Yes,
So
he
we have
gets
to
very
protect.
excited sometimes.
Yeah, we have to protect, and he's hearing another voice there and wondering who is that. All right, so we have to protect them as
Yes,
well. All right, and sometimes we overlook
that
these
is quite
things,
so.
right, for those who have pets at
We
home,
do.
yeah,
We need to
what's your
protect them.
recommendation in terms of protecting them?
Well, you want to, if there's an evacuation, you want to get them out as well. All right. Cover your plugs. Because and keep it out of their reach, because there are times that you may be biting these things, and um, there may just be a short circuit or something like that that can cause danger to them also. A spark or a fire or something of that sort.
Uh, Glad I asked that because I never thought of that part.
Uh-huh. Yes, yes,
Yes,
yes.
so we have to in protecting them, we are protecting ourselves
That is
because
quite
they
so.
don't know any different, and they
They don't.
right, fantastic, good. So what's coming up for Fire Safety and Awareness Week and Safety Awareness Week?
All right. So Fire Safety Awareness Week, Fire and Life Safety Awareness Week begins this Sunday. It starts with a church service at in Trelawney. Um, but our week in Clarendon begins where we'll have displays at both fire stations. So we'll be having a display at the Mapen Fire Station and Frankfield Fire Station. So all schools look out for that. You're invited to come in and view the booths that we'll be having on display. Firefighters will be doing mock demonstrations where they'll be doing rescue operations, drills, and so forth. So that can be very exciting for our little ones. So please come out and see what firefighters do and how they do it. We'll also be going to business places. By the way, the theme for this year is fire safety in a digital society. So we're basically looking at technology, smart technology as it relates to fire safety. So there are smoke detectors that can be connected to your wireless internet service that provides alerts to your phone or any other device that tells you if there's a fire, and you can respond to that incident. Or um, for people who have solar powered alternate electricity systems, we want to focus on these people as well to teach them about safety and managing these appliances. And of course, electrical vehicles are you know on the rise, so to speak, here in Jamaica. We have many charging stations throughout the country, and they are owners of many electric vehicles. So, as a matter of fact, there was an incident sometime about 2 months ago in Kingston where somebody was charging their vehicle, and the fire started there. So, we want to reach these people and tell them about the safety in dealing with these kind of vehicles and so forth. So all our information, our activities will be revolved around technology and lithium batteries and so forth, so that we can educate and inform and where necessary enforce safety procedures, so that we can have a safe and fire-free Jamaica.
Indeed. And I know that we are framing this in the context of safety in the homes, but we can't leave out our businesses. Any special thrust for the week as it relates to businesses? What aspect of businesses are you looking at in terms of fire safety?
Well, we're looking at the businesses that use solar power. We have noticed that many business places are converting or are using part Jamaica Public Service and part alternate or clean energy sources, for want of a better term. So we want to focus on these businesses where we conduct fire drills, we issue fire safety tips, and so forth. So there are general safety recommendations. For example, ensure that you have when you install these devices, it's done by a certified individual, and the adequate equipment is a part of that system. For example, your charge controller, that's important, because many people, they don't have charge controllers, and when the panels absorb all that heat and to produce all that electricity, it goes it's stored nowhere, except it overloads your system, and it may cause a fire from overcharging. So these are some of the precautions that we need to consider when we're using these devices.
Wow. So many different elements, because we're thinking, all right, we're saving on the cost of electricity, but at the same time, there are other aspects
We need to be mindful of safety.
we need to be mindful of, because we
Right.
can be penny wise and pound foolish if we're not careful.
There you go.
Right. And that's just the reality of working with technology, because there is always a balancing act, and that's why it's good to have to do consultation, so you can get all the necessary information to make informed decisions to protect.
And
Yes.
I just want to say that we can implement all the necessary safety precautions, and there still can be a fire because they are faulty equipment. There is manufacturer faults, and that can also be an issue. So we always need to be mindful of fire and life safety.
Right. Something I noted, in even with the chargers, because sometimes what we call the adapter, it has certain voltage written on it.
Yes, that's true.
Sometimes
Right.
we don't pay attention to some of
Pay
these
attention.
little things, and sometimes we might we connect another thing to it and it's not working, and you're wondering why it's not working. When you check, both of them have different voltage. So if it is that it does connect, then it might create a problem there for those in those situations, would you say? Because when you mix the voltage for different
Well,
devices.
it could cause a problem. Maybe the electricians will be more knowledgeable as it relates to that. But you can never overlook. But you just really need to be proactive and mindful.
Right. Yeah, I was just checking and I realized that, this is a different voltage from this, and this is probably why it's not compatible. So we have a lot of those things to look at. But
well, I can tell you that they are building some superchargers. So that definitely can be a problem, because if the charger is pushing a higher voltage than what is required, there may be a overheating of the device, and then a fire will start. So if you are in doubt, always check for your electrician or somebody who is knowledgeable in that field to advise you.
fantastic. All right. So anything else to share? We are pretty much covered the know.
At the end,
we were supposed to be ensuring that the viewers know what to look for in fire safety, how to prevent, and how to prepare in the event of a fire. Anything else that you want to leave with the viewers?
I'll just add that it's always good to know the number for the nearest fire station to you.
Oh, yes.
For our Maypen audience, I can tell you that Maypen's fire station number is 986-2192 or 858-5584. For Frankfield, it's 904-4532. That's a Frankfield fire station. But you just need to know the number for the nearest fire station, and always, if you, God forbid that a fire starts, but if one should start, you want to call the fire brigade first before you try to extinguish a fire. All right, and alarm members of your home so that they can get out safely before you even start to attack that fire.
All right. So, we can't leave without mentioning this part. A lot of structures are going up in terms of residential and others, and some of them might not necessarily be through developers, but individual homes, private homes. What are some of the things? Because there's some instances where I understand that the plan is passed, but then the construction does not take place according to the plan.
Or sometimes or sometimes these what they do is they build without getting the requisite approval, and that can be dangerous because you may build in an unsafe area, or you may not build with the requisite construction materials, and the structure becomes weak. And in the event of an earthquake, for example, or even a hurricane, that building can go down with you in it. All right. How the building is designed is a problem as well. You want us to approve these buildings so that we can ensure that it's built with the adequate protective material or fire resistant material, and the evacuation routes are present. You know, once upon a time, homes were built with just one exit, and that used to be the practice, and that is unsafe, right? So homes should be built with at least 2 exits so that people can safely get out. And not just homes, but even business places. You know, sometimes we want to, as I said before, we're mindful of security, so we want to minimize the amount of doors. And then, you know, what having 2 less doors cause is that people are not able to evacuate as quickly as they need to. So you always want the necessary approvals to come to the authorities.
Right. Because this is part of understanding and making preparation to prevent fire. Because because for the typical person is, they just want to get our money. That's why they want us to apply for all this permit, and then they giving us the runaround and telling us this can't happen, and then the contractor is telling them that, oh no, you can do it this way, man, so you can save on some material and some money here. But then the homeowner is left with the problem at the end of the day. And not just the homeowner, but it puts pressure on our safety
response agencies. Yes, that is so true. That's a very good point. You know, so we do things today for the quick fix, but in the long run, we are the ones that, you know, suffer as a result of it.
Right.
So
and you mentioned response team, because we have our community safety and security expo coming up. So who are the other entities that the fire department work with in terms of response?
Well, we work with the police. we work with the police, Jamaica Constable Level Force. We also work with Red Cross. They assist us as well. The parish council, municipal corporation, they provide assistance when required through their, water or whatever agency there is that need. So these are some of the agencies that assist us.
All right. And we will be seeking to pull all of those agencies together so that we can see how it all works.
Right.
And I'm looking forward to some really engaging demonstration so we can see, right, we're not showing it here now because we want for the viewers to come on out to Wembley Tuesday, November 21st to see the demonstration of, just in case you don't know how to use the fire extinguisher, I want to get some hands-on on that one. Right, and the different
definitely so.
The different gadgets. So we'll see the demonstrations at that point. This forum is for us to be informed. Right. So we come out for the practical side of safety and security. Right.
Quite so.
Thank you ever so much. Any final thoughts to leave with the community before we wrap for this episode?
I'm just going to extend the invitation out to all persons. The fire station is open during this week. So you can come and visit the fire station and learn things that you probably didn't realize that the fire brigade operates in or does. I'll just mention, I didn't remember to mention this, for those people who are in Mandeville, you'll be having an outside broadcast at the Mandeville Greens area. Firefighters from the 3 parishes will be present: Clarendon, St. Catherine, and Manchester, and we'll be doing a number of activities fire safety related, and we'll be giving away prizes, and there will be many surprises. So please come out and have fun with us, get to know the firefighters in your area and learn about the safety that you can implement in your home.
All right, well said. So save some of those goodies for community safety and security.
I will. If there's a lot of people that comes out and take them all, we'll just, we'll get them again. Don't worry. We'll still have some for you.
Fantastic. All right, awesome. So we've learned quite a bit about Fire Safety 101, what we need to know, and how we go about preventing fire and preparing in the event of a fire, how we protect our homes, our families. And let me thank you, District Officer Ryan Davis, for sharing space with me here on the Serenity Resource Connector. I know that a number of people will be viewing after we leave this space, but that's the beauty of this. This conversation takes place now, but we have a lot of persons who will watch it afterwards. But we'll seek to share the time-sensitive information so others are aware of it. So we need to get the information out in the different groups, but we'll follow up on that off screen. So thanks again. And just to remind our viewers that we do Community Corner third Thursday. So if you know of entities in the Clarendon space for now, or it might be St. Elizabeth, Manchester, because we do work in those spaces with the Community Safety and Security Program, you can indicate if you want to share what they're doing in their neck of the woods in terms of community development. We have been featuring a number of foundations in this space and highlighted the work that they are doing in their different communities. We also highlight if you have a unique business that you want to highlight in the space, feel free to reach out. The number, follow me, send a direct message on Instagram, Serenity Resource Connector, or on Facebook, Serenity Resource Connector. Google Serenity Resource Connector and you'll see all the contact details. WhatsApp 876-871-8960. Let me know if there is an entity that you think should be featured in this space so that we can learn more about what it is that they're doing and how we can progress. Remember, for Thursday, we have another councillors update in partnership with the Clarendon Municipal Corporation, so stay tuned. We are going Thompson Town and Maypen North Division in the next episode. So let's hear what our councillors have been doing and what they intend to do and how you can be a part of what it is that's going on in your space. This has been another episode of Community Corner here on Serenity Resource Connector. I'm Winsome, and our guest for this program was Ryan Davis from the Jamaica Fire Brigade Clarendon Division. Thank you again for tuning in live or the replay. Be sure to subscribe, set your notification, and share. God bless.
Bye.
Okay.